So,
yeah.
Hey, the late episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Chillin With Yellow, the revival, the episode 3. And I actually remembered to put the right episode number in the asset this time. Like episode 2, I saw that it was still episode 1. I was like, oh god. Anyways, my name's YellowHat. I make videos and stuff, and I dive into the weapon statistics and, you know, all that cool jazz. And then, of course, to my left here is the one and the only, the beautiful Chill Step.
Yep, I play Pavlov every now and then as well, sometimes. And every now and then I'll make a video as well. But my tutorials are way worse than Yellow's, sorry.
Oh, stop, get out of here. But your clips are way better.
That's all I got, though.
Yeah, so we have not done an episode of this since April. And a lot has changed since April. There have been, I'm pretty sure, 3 more major updates. I'm pretty sure the last time we did an episode, there was an update right at the end of March that happened. It was like the TTT update or something. And so we covered that a little bit, as well as some of the changes there. And then we did like an episode, I think in like June or something. And then which I never uploaded because, you know, I just got lazy. And then 3 more updates happened. So this definitely, for the devs, first of all, has been like the busiest year for Pavlov. That is,
yeah, they've been making a lot of progress.
Yeah,
it's really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, just I remember, you know, 2020 they had, I think, only 1 major update, if I remember correctly.
You would remember better than me, but yeah, like it feels like the velocity has been a lot faster. And I think it's because the team has grown, right? Like there's a lot new.
I mean, they've been putting in the, what's it called? They've been they've grown like in the past like year and a half from like literally just Dave to like I think a team of like over 10 people, and you know they've got a new sound guy or no new couple sound guys, and you know. They got people making mods into actual, you know, game types and stuff. So, let us go to, give me 1 sec. Boom. If you all update.
Looking at the update.
Yeah, we're gonna go to we're gonna work all the way back and then go forwards. So here we go.
26, I would think.
26.
Is the first one.
Yeah. So
industry update.
The industry updates. So the devs took Voxy's map industry and they completely did a visual overhaul and a little bit of layout stuff here and there. And actually some of that got fixed in the most recent update, which we can talk about. But industry, they made it into a they made it into an official map, and it's arguably one of the better official maps in my opinion. And then this was also the update where they made the new player models, and they reverted back to the blue NATO model, and then so there's actually like different colors and stuff instead of it just both being brown, which I think, you know, that saves a lot of friendly fire.
Saves a friendly fire, and like it's a double whammy because not only do they look better, which like they do. There's a few people who are like, oh, the old models are better, but those are just people afraid of change. The new models look better, they do, and they perform better. Like he was able to reduce the number of draw calls. I guess he like used different materials or something, but it performs better in those 30-person servers, you know.
Yeah.
Which is really important because those are becoming more popular right now.
Yeah. And I mean, I think he took out a lot of like the bones that were in the models too. Like I think it was in like the sunglasses or like the visors alone, there was like 30 bones or something like massive.
Just calculating all this shit that nobody cares about for every player in the map. Yeah.
And then then this is the update too, where they completely updated the weapon sounds. Like every single weapon now has a new sound. And the other cool thing is that there's new sounds both outdoors and indoors. Like there's a difference between the two, and I think that's, from like a competitive standpoint, like that's really cool for like trying to figure out where somebody is and, you know, what gun they're firing as well. And a lot of them just sound really good.
I love the sounds. Yes. That's out of all of the VR shooters that I've played, which is pretty much all of them, Pavlov has by far the best sound design, and it continues to just get better and better. Like it's kind of setting the standard for good gun sounds in VR, in my opinion.
Hey, first off, Alan, thank you for the Prime sub. Appreciate it a lot. And then, oh my God, Frosty with the 5 gifted. Look at you.
Um,
Hey, even you got a gifted sub. Let's go. Thank you, Frosty, for the gifted, man. Appreciate it a lot. Love you lots. But yeah. So I remember when they put in like the 50 cal, the new sound in the beta, and it was just like this crack of thunder now.
it sounds correct, yeah.
I'm
It sounds
like,
like a
this
50
thing,
caliber
it
rifle.
sounds so good. I'm like, I want to use this gun more.
Yeah,
And then,
it like changed my perception of the AK a little bit too. Like the AK just feels kind of more punchy to me now.
yeah,
Like I kind of like the AK more just because it sounds cooler, and
yeah.
not just because of the hand penetration, which I think is in a
Oh
later
my God,
update.
yeah, that I completely forgot that that was the thing that just like got fixed. You can't block bullets with your hands anymore, and it's
Yeah.
really great. Also, Lurf with the 5 gifted, my freaking homeboy. Love to see it. Thank you so much, Lurf, for the 5. Um, Yeah. So then there's also new explosion effects that they did, and they look, fantastic. And they don't like depreciate like performance or anything, which is nice. Something like to continue like the explosion effects, I would really like to see if they can do anything with smokes to make them maybe not client sided. I know that might be a little bit more performance heavy, but oh, I forgot to switch the topic by the way. But I'd like to see if well, I'm thinking about it, if they can maybe, do something about smokes and see if they could, make them more like spherical and like a little bit more functional. Because I feel like there's some times where, you get seen through smoke and you can't see the other person through smoke. Like, it's just like the angles are perfect.
Yeah.
Like
No, like
that.
smokes have been iterated on already a lot, but it's been a while since they've been touched. It might be a good time. It's a difficult thing to do in VR because the smoke particles are gonna give you a lot of overdraw, and that's a huge problem for like high resolution headsets. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how much of the like I got shot through smoke is either they're just spamming through smoke, or maybe there is no desync and it's just like the angle they have, it's easier to see my slight silhouette. I don't know, but yeah, I experienced that a lot in Pavlov where you just get completely obliterated through a smoke and you're like, all right, why did I throw that? I don't
Yeah.
what did
Like,
that do? It doesn't feel right at all.
I'm pretty like there was I think us two were facing against each other. It was when we played on Stahlbrecher, and like I saw your head perfectly over the smoke, and like it was like right at the tip of the smoke for me, and you couldn't see me, and you messaged me after. You're like, "How did you see me through that smoke, man? Like, what's going on here?"
Yeah. I
But
experienced that just the other day when we played too. There was I think a couple times where like I think on what was it, on Museum on Main, I threw a
yeah,
smoke and people would just shoot me straight through it, like they could just see me perfectly. It is frustrating. Like I don't know what it is. I know there is a bug that I'm sure hasn't been fixed where smoke lifetime is client side, where like on one client for some reason the smoke just decides it's gonna just pop out instantly, like at the end of its lifetime, and for
yeah,
another client it like kind of slowly fades,
yeah.
and then those people, one person can see, one can't. Obviously, that's a competitive problem, right?
Yeah, no, that's something that I hope maybe even with the new engine upgrade, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that's something that could get fixed. And I would think that's something that would, get looked at for sure. And but ultimately, I mean, like that's the one thing about utility that I like to see. Speaking of utility, this was the update where utility had a limit now. So now you can only buy, 1 frag grenade, 2 flashbangs, and 2 smoke grenades per person per round.
So
So
good.
it definitely reins the grenade spam back a lot,
Brain's
especially.
dream team in just a little bit.
Yeah,
Now I know I'm gonna get fragged like 5 times in a round, or if they've like you can kind of count, right? Each round, you count how many nades explode throughout the round, and you know how many they're stockpiling because they do that. They stockpile those nades now.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you don't use a grenade at a round, you can buy another one in the next round, and I mean, that's. But for reals, like if you're playing at like a high level, how often are you gonna go through a round without using your utility? So
exactly. Yeah, it's just so much more fair. Like it feels like you have more counterplay. You can actually, when you bait those nades, you can feel confident on your push, thinking like, okay, they have at least a lot fewer nades now. Whereas before, you bait nades and you're like, okay, we baited like 5 nades. I think
yeah,
it's time to push. Here comes 5 more nades.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and Logic saying something in the chat right now. Now we need ammo limit because people just dropping 50 mags on one door to prevent someone to push. I mean, yeah, I mean, even like going to limited ammo, I think it has to be done right, and there's a few different types of limited ammo modes that you can do in community servers right now. Like there's boxless, there's box, like you can pick up boxes of ammo, and then there's boxless ammo where you just walk over the person and like they drop a box of ammo already. I think as long as that's done right, like that could be cool to see like how that would work in competitive, and that's just like an extra balance point. Because I mean, admittedly, you can still spam an angle, but it makes you choose how you want to do that a little bit more, where you don't necessarily like want to spend like 5 magazines because you might only have 3 extra in reserve, but you can absolutely get through a round of S&D with 90 rounds. Like say you're using an M4, 90 rounds of reserve ammo and then 30 for your magazine.
It's plenty, yeah. And like definitely the boxless I think is the most interesting to me. Like fumbling around looking for ammo on corpses sucks, and like in the new push modes, I've noticed at least the ones I've played, when you walk over a corpse, you just pick up their ammo. That feels awesome. That's really good, and especially it's useful for people who have disabilities who can't like bend over and things.
Exactly, for sure. And even the hidden did it right too, where you just drop boxes and then you can just walk right over them. And I think that's probably the best way to do it, honestly, is where you could just walk over a person's body and you just automatically pick up the ammo. You don't have to like reach down and try to scavenge ammo, because then people just get caught. But the other thing too is, in a way, that makes you actually have to decide whether you want to save the ammo on your person or whatever by putting a magazine on your chest, or if you want to just dump the mag, right? And so
it changes reload speed a little bit in the middle of combat.
So that could definitely be something as well. Also, I was gonna get to it, but we were in the middle of conversation. Frosty, thank you for the 1,500 biddies. Love to see it, man. Thank you so much. We're getting all the love tonight. And then I almost skipped over it. Pav TV is finally in main. God bless.
and it works like every time. It's amazing.
There is a few things with it, like the first person view, and I don't think it works in community search and destroy servers anymore. At least I've experienced that. Like you'll load in and it works fine for like a round, and then it'll just stop. But I don't.
The first person view still broken? Because it actually, like today when I was looking at it, the hands looked like they were in the right place. Or is that just random luck?
It's probably just random luck, because I definitely have seen a lot of blockage of view, but I don't think it's gonna get looked at until the engine upgrade, which I mean, like, at least we have a working caster.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, literally all we need is the ability to cast games, and we have that. And
we can save camera angles. We can fly around. Admittedly, like, you can do a decent amount of like smooth work with the camera to where it's workable, but I mean, I'm just glad that we have it in main. We don't have to swap over to beta, which, I mean, I literally got an M.2 drive just so I could swap to beta if I absolutely needed to, and it takes like 6 minutes. But, beforehand, it's like if you didn't have that, it would take like 30 minutes to do, and it would just be...
It revalidates my entire map library of like 80 custom maps, too, that I keep stockpiling.
Yeah,
so it takes even longer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so Kraka and Crumb were saying the sightlines. So, like, if you ever watch, like, competitive CS, say you're holding a gun or whatever, you can see the laser coming out of the barrel, so you can see where people are actually looking.
Yeah, I think that's interesting as fuck.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. And I don't know whether you do that with the gun or whether you do that with, the actual player model's head or whatever. Because, I mean, admittedly, I know sometimes, like, if I'm, like, let's take Manor, for example. If I'm sitting on headshot and we plan a B, sometimes I might have to look at 2 angles, and so I'm like looking to the left and also looking at like what we call tits, like the statue there, like the other head peak that's on B site. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I definitely think it'd be better on the gun than the head, because like as people are looking around, like that's less important to me than what they're focused on and like what their engagement angle is, and like when people are running around, I kind of want that laser to be out of the way and just have it be down, and like they're just moving forward. I know they're moving forward. I don't need to know that their head is pointing forward too. It's like too much information.
Yeah. Also, different colors for util. Like, oh my god, the amount of times I've casted a game this season and just in general already where I see somebody throw a perfect smoke grenade that lands right next to somebody. I said, I wish that was a frag grenade because that would have killed them. Oh my god, I'd be a rich person. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that is cool. Yeah, so like different line trails for each type of utility color
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be cool.
for
Yeah.
sure. And then I think they did it with the new scoreboard, which we'll get to that in a sec. But just talking about like having like who's got the bomb in PAV TV, just so people can actually see that. But just a couple things. But at least we have a casting tool, and that's pretty dope. Um, Also, they're adding like all these little cosmetic things. Like they redid the shooting range. You can HK slap now, which is pretty neat.
Which I never do, but it's cool that it's there.
It is
Yeah.
pretty cool, and like you can use I guess you can like do it cinematically for like montage stuff. And they also in update 28 added the AR slap, where like, if you take like an M4 and you just slap the side of it, that pushes the bolt forward, which is really cool. And it's just like another like little
And
cosmetic.
Canted Sights, right? Is that when Canted Sights came out too?
Yeah, or yeah, I think so. Also, trench gun, which is the World War II shotgun. It's a pretty cool gun. You can also slam fire. You just hold down.
Slamfire is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just hold down the trigger, and as soon as that pump goes back forward, then it fires off another shot, and you can just do that repeatedly to shoot it off really fast, which is true to the weapon itself, which is really cool. And then they added the historical scopes. So, admittedly, I wish the Springfield scope was like the default scope, because it's just two lines, and it's super simple, and it would just be amazing.
Yeah.
All right, and then so this is where they added like the Tiger tank and scope effects. They changed the way that like scopes are zoomed in and stuff. So I actually like
Really like that a lot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, something's weird here, because they screwed up like the zooming thing or whatever, but then they fixed it, and I'm just like, I actually like this so much better. Like, it's just more consistent in a way. And
Yeah, like a lot of people, based on their technique, would have completely different scope pictures, right? Because like some people have their rear hand really far back, some people have it forward, and like because of the old method, as the sight gets close to your head, you just have this huge zoom field of view, which is like too much almost. But now it's no matter how far away from your eye, you have the same exact zoom. You just get a little bit of a black border. Just seems 100% better to me,
Yeah.
and it feels more realistic because that's kind of like, I don't know, I've shot snipers in real life, and there definitely is like that black border, and it doesn't. I don't know. It just feels good.
Yeah. This was also the update where they added the burst delay to the Glock, and I mean, I think 0.3 seconds is a pretty decent like median. I mean, the Glock is still pretty good, but like you might get outranged by it by like a Tech 9, and I think just overall
Feels very balanced right now.
yeah, like,
It does. Honestly.
the pistol rounds like in this season
Variety.
and just scrimming in between the seasons, there's so much more variety,
It's
and
amazing.
it feels good. Oh, this was.
I'm seeing Deagles, I'm seeing Tech 9s, I'm seeing Glocks, I'm seeing 1911s. Every now and then I see an M9 frag, which is cool. And then you still see people buying the 5.7 now. Even though the 5.7 is, I would say, like I tried to make the 5.7 for like the past few months. And it's good, you get an extra flash, but the Tech 9 is just better.
So
it has more kill bonus. It's just like, as soon as I switched back to the Tech 9, it was like taking training weights off, and now I can kill everyone again. Like, I don't know. I feel like the 5.7 just needs a little something. Like, give it some kill bonus, make it cheaper, give it something to make it a little bit more viable, but still, it has use as the gun that you buy 2 flashes with, right? Or the gun that you buy a smoke. Like, I still buy the 5.7 when I want to smoke really bad, right? So, like, it has its place.
And
like every pistol
I think
does.
the thing shoots pretty high overall, like just based off of my experience with other pistols. So like it's.
I have to bury the front sight a lot more with the 5.7. You're right.
Yeah. And then this is where they also added the new flashbangs, so you can like the visual effects to it, so you can actually like turn away from a flash. I think to get that
I never do. Do you do that? Because I keep forgetting to do that.
What I think what really gets, I think it's more based off of where your character model is turning, and so your character model might not exactly follow your head motion. So what I do is I'll like smooth turn away from a flash, and that usually works a little bit better.
I see.
Pro tips on this little podcast.
Let me write that down real quick. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
yeah, because I think your body's like, if you have like that inventory lock, right? Like you like look down and then you look up and then it like repositions your body or something, and that's how you like move your body. So if you don't like look down first, or I don't know, it's something like that. You have to like actually see your gear shift.
Yeah, I think usually just smooth turning will make that happen a little bit more often. Let me just see. Bullet decals.
What about our people who don't use smooth turn? What about them? You ever think about them?
I do. Listen, man, I played on Snap Turn for 1,200 hours. My first 1,200 hours, I was
Dude.
exclusively Snap Turn. I was like, live or die by the Snap Turn. And then I finally got over it, said, I'm going to switch to Smooth Turn. And I have not switched back since.
You're going back. Exactly. Everybody's like that. They're like, ugh, Smooth Turn looks weird. It makes me feel sick when I play it, right? Like, did you get motion sickness when you tried it?
Yes. Well,
Me
not
too.
like crazy motion sickness, but I can,
Just a little bit of like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, you have to gradually increase the turn rate over time, but it only took a few days for me, and then, Smooth Turn all the way.
All right.
In every game.
And then this is where they added all like the new modern weapons and stuff, which they finally got added with the new bi-wheel, but this was also where the FAMAS kind of got nerfed to hell.
It kept volleying on like the beta branch, like now it's OP, now it's underpowered, now it's OP.
Well, it's crazy because like, I mean, when you lower the fire rate, I mean the gun has more time to like reset, or like it resets faster because it's not, you're not shooting as fast, so it just became a little bit more accurate. And then without the fall off, I was like, oh my god, this thing is freaking crazy. Like,
you guys mained it. We had a scrim, I think, and you guys only used FAMAS the entire game, and it was totally fine. You could full buy every round because you just.
It's crazy, yeah.
And that was when it had like kill bonus, like 300 kill bonus too. So, and then I think he nerfed the kill bonus and the range at the same time, and that's kind of.
I think that gun could just use like a whole rework or something. Like even if it was like a main rifle or something, and you just switch up the recoil pattern, like.
So to be fair, I do not think the FAMAS is bad right now. Like, I think it has a very solid role as a CQB SMG that does a lot of damage, and it does. And I've seen people use it and completely shred people with it. I just think that there's perception around it now, that it's been nerfed too many times in a row. Everybody perceives it as weak, so now everybody's going to buy the hot new shit that's like the M16 or whatever,
but like,
right?
if you're like within that like 10 meters or whatever, like before its fall off starts, it's basically the pre-nerf FAMAS with like a little bit slower fire rate, but even then, like, it'll still shred.
And more kill bonus than the pre-nerf FAMAS, right? It has 100 kill bonus, so it's actually slightly better, I would say. I think perceptions kind of changed how the gun performs more than the balance does in this case in some way.
I'm interested that this hasn't like completely messed things, but the op getting the damage increase to 100 against unarmored, I mean, that's cool, and it like definitely it keeps you on your toes, because like somebody could just wind up force buying an op and then just one hitting you. But
it's interesting. Like, you see it come out, and it's not like, honestly, it's not in my opinion, a great idea to necessarily buy that as an anti-eco, because of it has a 0 kill bonus, right? So like, you want to buy the ump and you want to stack up cash. You don't want to buy the op, which is more expensive than the ump and has no kill bonus, right? And sure, you can bring it in the next round. Then it's not a bad weapon against armor, but it's more interesting. But it's not overpowered. It's not changing anything. And I think also the fact that, admittedly, hit reg and pav is kind of weird sometimes, right? Like, you put your cursors right on somebody, you pull the trigger, the bullet enters their body, and then it just disappears. You notice that way more often with bolt actions. Like, if you just go into any deathmatch, any of you guys go into a deathmatch with an op, you'll see.
Believe I was getting some 50 cal gameplay just in deathmatch, just to, future video ideas, maybe the 50 cal guide finally, but because I'm gonna be returning to weapon guides, I think, a lot next year, because I kind of stopped after like the M4 and the AK, because those just like, those are the two main weapons of the game. But man, for the amount of shots that I was hitting, I was also missing a lot. And that's not even just like at far range, but it was at close range. And I guarantee you that I can make a whole 10-minute video of just me missing AFK players. Like, and that's a lot of it is skill issue with the 50 cal, but also
some of it is not. And the 50 cal has a different bullet, so I feel like it misses less, it feels like, because it has like a large hitbox compared to every other gun. But the key thing to notice whenever this hit reg issue happens is on your client, when the bullet hits the target and doesn't do anything, and like it gets rejected by the server, there will be no bullet hole on the opposite side. It like physically gets like absorbed by them, and you'll be able to see that happen instead of a bullet. Like, if you see a bullet hole on the opposite side, that means your client didn't even think you hit. Like, you just missed the hitbox,
What's it called? And I mean, I find that the bigger bullet makes it a little bit harder to hit like really tight shots. Like, say you're like, you're crouching in the mid window of like museum or whatever, or let me say like Mirage window. That would be a more applicable example, right? And you're just like crouched and you're only showing your head. If I'm gonna try to hit you with a 50 cal, like, I kind of just have to pray that my shot hits, because you know, it's a really tight
Because
shot.
sometimes it'll hit the wall. You're saying?
Yeah, because the bullet is just so thick.
Yeah,
But-
I guess I haven't actually tested that. I haven't tested if the bullet size for the 50 cal is only for players or if it's just across the board bigger, so it also hits walls. I don't know that.
but
But it actually can make headshots easier because you can miss the head and still headshot.
yeah. But I mean, it's an interesting weapon, and I mean, I'm trying to learn it a little bit more. I think just because it really is useful at higher levels of play. And
Yeah, I've seen several of you Vortex guys like pulling out the 50 randomly and just destroying with it. It's kind of scary.
Speaking of, Thief was saying, I gave you all the 50 gal gameplay you needed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember you so Basil was playing long A on Oil Rig, and you guys went B like every time. Basil's like, they never go long A. I'm gonna just rush. And then Thief just peeks with a 50 cal and like headshots him, and he's like, okay, the one time they go long A, I'm just running out in the open.
It's pretty comical, yeah. But I mean, especially too, like over on the Shack side of things, whenever that engine upgrade happens and they would presumably get scopes, you're probably gonna see that thing used a lot more because it's not allowed right now because it doesn't have a scope. But
which is weird to me, honestly, because I feel like the 50 cal is less accurate without a scope than with a scope. Like, I don't know, maybe if scopes confuse your brain, then it's better without a scope. But once you learn how to actually use a scope, it feels better with a scope.
Yeah, I mean, I despise people that use it without a scope, but that's just me.
it's a skill issue thing, you know. They just can't wrap their heads around the 8x. I get it.
Okay. I think that's it for 26. Oh, they fixed like the ping rollover, which is nice, but we'll get to the scoreboard.
Well, that was huge. Yeah. No, doesn't it still kind of fuck up for custom servers in the browser though?
For the server browser, yeah, like there's still ping rollover stuff there.
You're sure it'll be fixed soon if the other one got fixed. Yeah.
And then this was like a lot of reloading updates and whatnot, but there was a lot with update 26. It was a huge update because it was the first update after almost 6 months, so they did a lot with that one. But moving on to 27, and I'm gonna switch my topic here, aka just swap one letter or number. Boom. Okay, 27. The
hide.
The hidden. This
actually a really fun mode.
it really is. Okay. But yeah, so I had tested this a lot. Like this was pretty much a part of every beta test since like June of this year. And I was always trying to get more people into it. I'm like, yo, they're making the hidden and they're doing it like an official mode. Like it used to be a mod like a year back or whatever, but then they're making it an official mode. And you know, Motflyer, one of the devs, was working on it, and it's such a fun mode. And like, I mean, it's cool because now you get to like jump around and move around and just like, you know, be this invisible person and just scare the shit out of people. And
you get to do the fun shit you get to do in other VR games where you like climb and do, and it's not like exactly climbing like in Boneworks or whatever, right? But it's still kind of climbing. You're just like sticking to walls.
Yeah,
it's more accessible climbing, I guess. I don't know, but
yeah,
it's interesting.
And they introduced like a couple new gadgets. Like there's a triple arm, which is now actually like a trip mine, so it actually
love
blows
that
up.
thing.
Yeah,
it just sticks to whatever you want. Like the game is so polished. This mode is so polished. There's so much stuff, and when you place a trip mine, your character's like placing trip mine. I love that.
There's like all the different voice lines and stuff too, and there's also like there's taunts that you can do as the hidden. You just click your buy roll button, and it's just like, you know, you could just like be right behind somebody, do a taunt, and the reactions that you get are freaking hysterical. And then there's the tranquilizer gun, which there's so many, like, I go into so many like hidden lobbies and people are like, oh, this thing is useless. I'm like, dude,
explain that gun to me because I don't understand it.
So what it does is it's got 6 darts in it, and you can shoot them really rapidly, and there's no recoil. And so what it does is it obscures the vision of the hidden, and it makes them use more stamina. So like the hidden has like stamina, and so like it's like 4 jumps, and okay, your stamina bar is depleted, you can't jump until it recharges. It makes that stamina bar go down faster, and it decreases health over time. So like if you hit them with 6 darts in a row, their life is going to be terrible.
I see. So you're debuffing them for the rest and it never like regenerates, like it's just a permanent
it
debuff?
Eventually goes away, I think, after like 20 or 30 seconds. Like it's a long effect. And also the hidden, like the hide or the monster or whatever, they make audible noises too, like of like, oh, I just got tranquilizer or whatever. So like they they'll make like an audible noise and they become easier to find and they move a little bit slower. So it really just debuffs all their movement that they have. So
It's interesting. I still would rather just have like a rifle. You know, like every time I have the tranquilizer gun, I feel like I unload into the hidden and it's still coming at me, so I have to switch to my Glock and kill it with that.
I mean, at least you do get a Glock though, which is nice, but it's a weird weapon to use, and if you're not familiar with it, people are just like, oh, this thing sucks. But like, this often can get you a lot of kills right away, especially if like the hidden's low on health. You just like tag them up and then
they'll die if
they'll
they
just
hit 0
yeah.
from the debuff. Okay.
And then they got like the aura flashbangs, and then the adrenaline shot, which is cool, makes you go super speedy. The bandage.
It's cool, yeah.
And then they did a really good job with like the monster and the attached blades. I think it
feels good to just flail around in a group of enemies.
You just kind of do a little bit of punching, and and then they have individual frag grenades, and then this is where they introduced all the new night maps, which is really cool. Like Santorini night looks so gorgeous, actually. But they did all the night maps for all the base modes, and they like made them really like, you know, horrifically like themed or whatever, like, you know, blood on the ground and like, you know, there's a body over here and stuff, and it's a
smart way to double your base map count, is to just make different lighting versions of each one.
And then they finally did it with the new buy menu, and this is supposed to be customizable in like servers and whatnot, so you could theoretically have a World War II S&D if you wanted to, but it's, you know, I think initially it screwed a lot of people's like muscle memory first. You know, people might be accidentally buying like an M16 when they meant to buy an M4 because it's in the slot. But I mean, now you could put so much more on it, and like it allows room for new attachments, and admittedly, like I think once you get used to it, it's just like functionally really nice and allows for so many more weapons, which is awesome.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it, if you notice, if you look at the way it's used, previously when you had the buy menu, I'm pretty sure you had like a little cursor, like a little dot that you would like move with your joystick. Like that was kind of pointless. Now it's just the deflection itself is just a vector pointing to whatever thing you're trying to select. So you don't have to worry about like how much you're depressing it.
And it just highlights the specific thing, which is cool. I mean, I think some people were asking for that cursor back as well, which I mean, that could be fun.
Why? Why though? I don't get why you would need it. Like the functionality is better without it.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, it's a cool thing, and it allowed for all the new weapons to finally be implemented into search. So now they can, you know,
and like laser attachments and cannon sights. Now you can have 2 red dots, one for each eyeball, and you can have like red dot binoculars, which is kind of fun.
You could literally pull a full Tarkov in Yellow. It's great. They also did like the first person vest thingy, which I mean, some people are like, I don't really want this, or like, can this get like removed? But I mean, it's just like another visual thing. Like, it doesn't really bug me that much. And you know, it like gives you a little bit more of an immersive feeling of like, oh, here's like my player's body, right? Like, I don't mind it too much, and I know like some people are iffy about it, but it's a cool addition, and it works for each skin.
And we got the M16 as well in S&D, which right now the M16, based on its role, it just kind of feels like it's an AUG, right? It feels almost like a better AUG, because usually people prefer iron sights to ACOG in S&D just because the engagement distances are usually smaller, and it has really nice glow sights on it, right? So you're pretty much always going to buy the M16 over the AUG. So it kind of just made the AUG obsolete, I guess, but you didn't really see people buying the AUG, and now you see people buying the M16. So
yeah, it's a really good like force spy weapon, and admittedly, like, I love the thing with the hollow sight, but even then, just like, I feel like the grip points on it are a little bit further away than the M4, which naturally gets me to aim higher. So like, I just feel like I hit more headshots with it, and I mean,
it's got a longer barrel. It's got more accuracy. Yeah. At least that's the perception I think people get. It's so long, you're like, ooh, this is like a super accurate gun, you know?
And like, it works. It's really good at long range, and I mean, I think the AUG is still pretty good too. Like, you'll see people using it on like long A on oil rig, and it's still a good gun, and it's got more ammo in it than the M16. But like, I think it's
and Basil's right. The M16 has a mag release button, which is it can be useful.
Yeah. There were so many people that were like, "Why'd you get rid of the friggin' AUG mag release?" Like, completely screwed people's like muscle memories and stuff. And it's because
that's how it is in real life.
It was that, and because of the HK slap thing with it, because you can do it on that gun as well. So
Yeah, you can't win as a game developer. If you have something in your game that's not true to real life, everyone will shit on you for it. And then if you change it to be true to real life, everyone will shit on you
yeah.
because it's not
Uh,
the same as it was before. Like,
there's also like the vignette of like damage or whatever, like the sides of your screen.
vignette.
Yeah, vignette. I don't know how to say that word.
When you get all of your vocabulary from books.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, like I think you can toggle it too whether you want it or not, which is really nice because
Yeah,
I'm the
most
type.
people I talk to turn it off.
Yeah.
What about you?
I've kept it on, like I don't mind it at all, and
Me too.
admittedly, like I might not be looking down and seeing like the blood come out or whatever, but like I can just see the side. I'm like, oh, like this is happening. Even then, like
Yeah, it feels like with the vignette, it's easier for me to count how many hits I take because it kind of like pulses a little bit. So not only am I getting the audio, I'm getting this little pulse of red, and I can count. Oh, I just got shot 3 times,
Yeah.
and I don't have to look at my watch because I can tell how much health I just lost
Man.
based on that.
I feel like my force of habit is if I get my helmet taken off, I just look at my watch. I'm like, damn, I really just lost my helmet.
Oh, it's the bad time of day now. Oh man.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty much it for 27. But this was just the main part of this update was introducing the hidden or the hide as they call it, just to avoid any sort of not even copyright, but just like making it look like they're copying the hidden mod, because this originally came from Half-Life 2. It was an old Half-Life 2 mod, and so they made it like they're coming up with their own lore and stuff. So now that they have like their own name and stuff, they can come up with their own lore. Because like the hidden isn't the only game mode where there's one invisible person versus everybody. There was also the stalker in Gary's mod, and it was the same thing. The one person he's invisible. He's got abilities that he can use, like he can like do like telekinesis and like control an object or like a prop with his mind and then just launch it at a person. And
That
so
sounds cool in VR, honestly.
I was like,
maybe you should copy that.
I was like, please make that happen. That would be so funny. But yeah, they just added that red to Shaq when getting shot. Oh yeah, so I think Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq just updated. I don't know what all they got.
I think they just got caught up with like all the cool stuff that PC got, or at least most of it, like the buy wheel and all the new modes and stuff. So speaking of that, now we get to the most recent update, which I was not prepared to make a video for. I was like, I did an update video last time, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll just like have this in the works and be ready and all that. But now it's like they just launched this update on Wednesday. I'm like, oh, so they're sending an update. So update 28 for PC VR was the push update. And so this was like, I've been playing push in Battlefield push in Pavlov, excuse me, since probably the beginning of this year. And it was like a mod for a few maps, and they were trying to work it into like an official mode. And it was something that was in the works for a while because admittedly, I think Dave's original goal with Pavlov was to have like a World War II VR shooter. And so this kind of fulfills that objective in a way. And so push is really awesome because now it's appealing to the larger scale engagements of VR, and it's kind of tapping into a new market. And admittedly, like all the community maps that have been made for it so far work out pretty well. What are your kind of
like my opinion is that I'm addicted to push and I love this mode. Like I when I first started Pavlov, I was always like a TDM guy. Like I got pulled into S&D because people saw me in TDM and were like, hey, you should come play this. This is cool too.
Yeah.
But like ultimately I play Pavlov originally because I just want to have fun like shooting a bunch of people and like just having a good time. And to me push is that. Like I can immerse myself and feel like I'm some like World War II machine gunner or medic or whatever.
Yeah.
And they did such a good job with the classes in this and a good job with the ammo system. They have the limited ammo, but you have support classes that can put down infinite ammo things and share ammo.
Yeah.
You have medics who can heal people, and it's really easy to use, and it feels awesome. And there's so much like communication going on. You've got tanks, like I don't know, they did an amazing job with push, and the fact that it's moddable, like there's a Middle East push that's like a modern push.
Yeah. And
it's fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
dude.
I use that as a warm up because if you can kill people a mile away, you can kill people in S&D ranges, right?
Yeah,
like, it's
exactly.
a great warm up.
And so I remember just like Originally, there was World War II trenches. I think you remember that map where it was like there was like the graveyard, and it was just like it started in a little village, then it went to the actual trenches, then it went to like another village or whatever. You remember that map? Maybe.
Yeah, I played that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
yeah. I mean, and like that's where they were experimenting with all the cool stuff. Like they had like a mortar launcher. That's where they were experimenting with like the bike with the sidecar, and like they had so much of like the cool stuff in it. And I was like, this is like the fact that this is going to become like an official mode. Like, it just the level of like workshop content is just improving so much, and especially with push, you're seeing map makers like really they're really just expanding like on how much they can put into their maps and the quality of their maps. Like I'm gonna look up the Pavlov VR workshop. Yeah, so don't warn me again for that. Let's see if I can look it up. I can't spell it. Yeah, so this one guy, he literally made like an actual like D-Day map, right? And like there's like you've got the beach with the bunkers and everything, and there's objectives there. Then you go to like a crashed plane or whatnot, and then you go to like a radio tower or whatever, and like
the progression, it gives a story to the map, right?
This is an entire ass Pavlov map, right?
Yeah.
Like this is insane. And like, you know, even then, like with the performance optimizations that have happened, they're like,
it is playable.
yeah. And
yeah, like even in the 28, 30 person servers, you really start to feel the frame rate drops, right? Like if you're trying to run 144 hertz, you're not going to. Sorry, but you're getting like 20 milliseconds a frame, you know, on a good GPU. Like you can play it and you can enjoy it as long as you're not playing like one of the Arctic like BSP maps that is like literally 5 FPS.
Yeah,
and like I feel like with the engine upgrade, hopefully that gets even better, and these 30 person servers will actually be performing like pretty well compared to what they are now, and that'll just, I think, explode these kind of map types as well. Like I don't know how many people don't play because of performance, but I definitely hear complaints of like, oh, these 28 people servers it's too laggy, so that's why I don't play it.
But even then, just like the scale of some of these maps, it's insane. Like especially this one, I've only played a little bit of this one, but I want to like play the whole thing where, you know, you go all the way through and you progress all the way to the town, and just like you can have like literally an hour-long match. And like have you ever played like squad before, or like
played it for like 2 hours? I was getting shit on, but it was still fun. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's just like that kind of large scale. And speaking of, I mean, like they kind of, I don't think they put it in the notes, but they removed the fact that like 20 player servers don't show up. Like you can see server counts go up to 30 and whatnot.
That was a huge problem in my opinion when they didn't have that. And I don't know if it's because, like, I think originally they did that deliberately, because these 28 person servers lag, and it gives people a bad impression of the game when they just jump into Pav, they go to the server browser, they pick the top option, and then they lag, and it just feels like shit, right? But ultimately, like, opening that up, people are making sure to kind of limit, for the most part, except for like maybe the Arctic server, are trying to limit the player counts to match what maps they have active, so that the performance is pretty good. And it's totally playable, and it's really fun, and it's popping off right now. Like a lot of people are in those modes, whereas before they weren't.
Yeah. And it's cool because it's like, if it, you know, it feels like Battlefield in VR, and you're getting that big player count experience, and it's just like, you know, there's, you know, you've got your loadouts and stuff, you can drive vehicles. Like what other VR game can you do that in, right?
No, this is top of the line here. And it's funny because like in Battlefield, right, everybody, I'm sure, I don't really play, but everybody wants the tank, right? Like the tank spawns, they're like, oh, I want to get in the tank. In VR, everybody's like, ooh, the tank, that's hard to use, that's scary, because you have to go inside and work knobs and shit, right? Like
and it takes teamwork. Like you can just like absolutely chat it and be the only person to use the tank, but then if you have a full tank crew of 3, then it's just like really cool. And it
fucking strong. If you have a tank crew of 3 people communicating, who has a driver who isn't just trying to ram the other tanks, and who's like positioning and holding still so the gunner can line up shots and like barrage positions, the tank is OP, but
Yeah.
people don't usually use it that way because people aren't coordinated. Usually some guy just gets in the driver's seat, puts the pedal to the metal, and just
Yeah.
drives through the enemy line and gets
Yeah.
blown up by rockets,
But
right?
like it's cool because now we've got all these World War II vehicles, right? And we've had some
Next.
modders work on some vehicles. We've got
Where's that Abrams tank in
I mean,
in the
yeah,
Middle East
exactly.
push?
We can definitely get some modern vehicles in. And I mean, Kenneth, some of you might know him. He made the little testing map that a lot of people use, has put some helicopters in, and like they work. I think the kind of reprojection needs to be fixed a little bit. I know he's been working his ass off on that, but just wait till we have literal helicopters in multiplayer VR.
Yes. Please give me aerial vehicles. I will be so happy. I want to be a pilot really bad.
Even that, and just like being able to maybe like fly a plane, or yeah, bomber planes and helicopters, exactly, like just being able to fly a plane, or like just even being like an MG gunner and sitting on like the side of a helicopter and just popping people from like a helicopter would be absolutely insane. And what other VR game can you say that you can actually do that in? And then also like it performs well too. Like I know it might drop to 45 frames a second or maybe even less sometimes, but even then, just like they're continually working on the optimization, and then they're gonna wind
Some
up.
mappers, like it depends on the maps a lot too. The performance. It's not all Dave's fault if a map isn't performing well.
Yeah, and I think that might be the thing that some people need to realize is it's up to the map maker with like the loadouts and how well the map performs. And so it's just given
Release push, it's handling 28 players and it's not lagging for me like at all. It feels really good.
That's
as an example.
That's awesome to hear. And so continuing with update 28, because push is pretty awesome and I pop in from time to time. We got a hunting rifle, throwing it way back to the OG days of Pavlov. It used to be a Seiko 85 and now it's a Remington 700, I believe.
Very sexy gun, by the way.
Yeah. It sounds cool. They finally got the single bullet loading working, which I mean, like from a competitive point, like it kind of slows down a gun a lot. And so I do wonder if this thing will get buffed a little bit. But then also that bandolier that you see on the back, you can actually take a bullet from that and load it into the gun. And I think that's just like, plus 10 immersion points right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And is it just me, or does it shoot faster than other snipers? Does it feel like it has higher bullet velocity, or is that like...
I don't know. I'd have to test it and
Yeah.
see, because I haven't figured that out. But I mean, it in search and deathmatch and stuff, it's only $1,600 and you get $800 a kill with it. I mean, it's a pretty cool gun, and if you can land your headshots with it, you're getting your one hits, and then even then just tagging somebody with it. And then the bolt feels good too. Like it's a really short action, so you can shoot the thing really fast.
Yeah, in one of these updates we've covered, I don't know which one, he changed the way bolts work too, to where there's a bit more like wiggle room. If you close the bolt and you let go a little early, it'll fully close now. Where it used to be like stuck, like just barely open, and it would fail to reload.
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah. So the way it works is there's a threshold for it. So if you close it 90% of the way, it'll close, and if you open it 90% of the way, the bolt will open. So there's like a 10% threshold both ways.
very good. Yeah.
So
Always love little quality of life things like that just make guns feel better overall. Very small things.
yeah. So they also introduced the Tiger tank, which is just like a more powerful version of the other tanks. I think it could take more hits. And then the internals of it look pretty cool, and all the tanks in the game work exactly like the tanks do in real life to an extent. You pull the thing open, you put the shell in, you close it, and then you press the button, you fire. And then if you want to aim, you have to turn some cranks, or like turn some knobs or whatever. And
it's always confusing because the cranks are in different positions for every tank, so you have to like relearn what the hell you're doing each time you get into a new tank.
Absolutely. So the tanks are really cool, and then Tiger tank, I'm glad that it's finally in. And like there's like actual steering with it, and then there's the stick steering. So I think it has two different ways you can steer it. And then they're adding like more 4x4 vehicles. So they added like the Kuba wagon, and they added the Willys Jeep. just for like the extra aesthetic and for like fast transport too, especially on some of these larger maps, which is really cool to see.
And drop in with 4 guys behind enemy lines with a car. It's perfect.
Yeah. They added bunker, which I think like visually it's a really cool map. I don't know what they want to, like do with it, whether they want to like go more the S&D route or whether they want to make it a deathmatch map. It's
Definitely labeled as an official search and destroy map, so it's designed with search and destroy in mind. I feel like it feels more like a 10v10 search and destroy map or an 8v8. Like it feels super huge,
Yeah,
and it has like the rotates feel kind of long for 5v5, you know?
Oh yeah, I think I did the actual timings, right? And from the actual plant spot from on one site to the plant spot on the other site, it took me 25 seconds to get across. So, let's say you're
How does that compare, I guess, to others?
I think other maps might be a little bit shorter, maybe like 20-ish seconds. I don't know the exact like full rotate time, but I was like, all right, so this is half of the bomb timer just for me to get over here, right? And so it kind of, I think if there was like a little bit faster rotates, which I think they wound up fixing that a little bit, but it's
I'll admit I didn't really test it much at all. Like we scrimmed you guys once on it, you guys beat us, and we were like, I hate this map. We just didn't play it at all.
I mean, it works really good as a map for the hide or the hidden or whatever you want to call it.
Beautiful map,
yeah. And like for pretty much all the other modes, it works pretty well. And it's just interesting because like it's with indoor only maps, like it's weird to see like with outdoor maps you have more freedom with like util and stuff, and so indoor maps that's like a challenge of like how do you use util like in creative ways to get yourself into a site. So
yeah, I definitely remember on bunker pre-nades being pretty nasty from CT side. A lot of like hallways you could just throw a nade into and blow up the attackers.
For sure. And then so I mean visually it's a really good map, and I think it has some things going for it, and so I hope they continue to work on it and see what they can do to improve like the search and destroy quality aspect of it, because like it has some things going for it, but I think just the CT rotate time definitely is like one big thing. And then the other thing is like the site on the left for the I think it was like A site or something. It was pretty much just slammed that every round because the other site was like kind of impossible.
Yeah, there's like head peaks everywhere and stuff. Yeah, like it was kind of imbalanced. I know what you mean. Like I would play the hell out of this in like a casual World War II S&D thing, just having fun. I would love the shit out of this map.
Yeah.
I don't see it getting into VRML like anytime soon, but it's still like as a casual S&D map, it's totally functional and would probably be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Especially in like an 8v8 format or something like that on those community servers.
Speaking of 8v8 and anything bigger than a 5v5, we have an updated scoreboard. And
fucking God.
Oh my God. This thing is just perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Not only does it show more than 5 players on each team, in fact it shows up to 16 players on each team, so it can support up to 32 players in total. And I tested this, so the UI it stays the same size all the way to 11 players. Then at 12 players it shrinks a little bit to accommodate more players, and then when you get past 16 players then it'll like stop counting players. But even like 16 versus 16 is more than enough for a
32. Like you probably shouldn't have more than that right now. Maybe after the engine upgrade you can try to push that, but you're like, I don't know. Maybe if the map's big enough.
And then the other absolutely like big thing is that this shows who has the bomb, as well as your team's economy for search and deathmatch and stuff. And for search, that's really huge because you can plan your economy, if you're spectating or, you're not alive, and you can kind of do quick math and see what your economy is going to be like in the next round. So you can figure out whether you're going to force buy or whether you're going to buy or whether you're just going to full save. And that's, that's a really big thing because that, that removes having to try to figure that out when you're buying stuff in the next round. And so you can use the pre-round timer in the beginning of each round to actually figure out like, okay, this is how we want to split our CT defense, or this is what we want to do on T side. And I think that's
you cut like 5 seconds of people like saying, what's your money, who's got money, what's going on? You just look. IGL has less work to do.
Yeah, the IGL can just like actually focus on like coming up with a solid plan and going from there. And I think for the more casual players or the people that are getting into S&D, this helps you actually visualize your economy a little bit more because it updates in real time with kills, with bomb plants, etc., etc. And so I think between that and being able to see the bomb icon, like this will help people understand search and destroy a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So this is
just a pure upgrade.
This was.
And how else am I going to flex in a large team server if my name doesn't show up on the scoreboard, right? Like, this is so much better in every way. People need to be able to see where I am.
It's like, because it used to be like, oh, I don't know how many kills this person's getting, or like you'd be in a party with somebody and you're like, yeah, I got like 20 kills. Oh, I don't see you on my scoreboard. And then now everybody's like, oh, this person is like going 25-2. Like, they're just absolutely dominating. So and so they show off all the community created push maps. So Snow Trail's really cool. I love that map. It was made by Kenneth.
Fun, yeah.
Dog Green Sector we talked about. Train Yard I played once. I think it's pretty cool. You're just like walking through this like Russian town, and then you get to like a giant bridge or whatnot, and then there's the actual rail yard. Brain Slug made it. It's a solid push map overall. Remagen I haven't played. Middle East you were talking about earlier, and you and I have both played that one, and it's a really cool map. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's the only modern push right now.
Yeah.
But it really scratches that long range modern weapon itch, and like feeling like you're fighting the Taliban or vice versa.
Yeah, and then Outpost Assault I've also played, and it's pretty cool. Messiah just took his outpost map and just like increased the size, and so you start on like boats or whatnot, and then you cross like a giant lake of ice, and then you get to this like small fort.
That's the one for me that did not perform, and maybe it's a recent update. There was like 10 Tiger tanks in it or something, and all these like artillery things, but I was getting like literally 5 frames per second. I had to clip it because it was so hilarious. It was like playing slow motion.
I think it was just all the like, because he made that for like 20-on-20, like let's throw in as many vehicles as we can. But I mean, overall, it's a cool concept, and I think he'll keep working on it, and it'll be pretty solid. So then we get to next year. So next year, the update cycle is going to slow down while we progress to a newer version of Unreal Engine. I believe this has been confirmed to be Unreal Engine 4.27. The game is on 4.21 right now, and the last time the game was updated, like engine-wise, was 2019, I think. Hopefully they announce the exact date of when the engine upgrade is going to happen for PC, because the biggest thing, and like every workshop creator needs to know this, is that this is going to have an unfortunate side effect of making all the current workshop maps incompatible. So all these maps that we just talked about, they need to upgrade them to 4.27, preferably before.
It's supposed to be easy, right? It's supposed to be just like you open the project, you export, and that's it, and you're done, right? Like it's not supposed to be difficult. Maybe you have to copy paste some shit. I don't know. But,
I think they even say it right here, like upgrading your workshop content is about as simple as drag and drop, but it'll be necessary as Unreal Engine does not have the ability to make maps backwards compatible. So hopefully from the dev side they have like a target like month or something, like, oh, we want to send the update out like September, October. They did say like Q3, Q4 of 2022. But I think just as long as they have that out so that everybody can get their workshop content updated, I think that will be, the engine upgrade, who knows what's exactly going to happen, right? And I think it'll be pretty cool, and hopefully there's performance upgrades and whatnot that happen. But overall, I mean,
I guarantee Pav TV will break, unfortunately. If history is to tell us about the future, we will not have Pav TV once that update drops, but we can be hopeful. Maybe.
And I think they did say that they'll probably work on Pav TV when that engine upgrade happens. So hopefully, like, we can have like a new and improved version of Pav TV. But even just like having the ability to cast games and whatnot, like even if it's like the same as what we have for right now, like that'll be fine. And then if they can just like improve it, and like, because I think this is one thing that, going into like other VR esports and stuff that not a lot of games have really tackled yet, is the the spectating experience for people wanting to get into VR esports. And I think if you really just focus on getting that spectating tool just working solid from a VR esports perspective, I think that would be really good, because then it'll get more people into that. And then also from a content creator standpoint, you could do so much with like cinematics and stuff. And you see some people making montages using like Pav TV, like the camera view, and you know, using spectator view and whatnot. And so I think having that for other game modes, it'll be a tall order for sure, but I think just from like a content creation standpoint, like you can do so much with that. And so, you know, I hope that that is something that they are able to work on when the engine upgrade happens, and hopefully you can just turn Pav TV into something really awesome that at the end of the day, let us help you promote your game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like, right, obviously the viewership, even with Pav TV working right now, isn't like huge for VRML. Like most of the people watching VRML matches are VRML players. Like something has to change, I guess, for people to actually give a shit about watching Pavlov matches. And some of that could come from the devs if they cared, right? Like they could put something in game that points to upcoming VRML stuff or point people towards league things, but I don't think that's their priority at all, because the vast majority of their player base is not that audience. So I understand that. So it's really, I guess it's more on the marketing of VRML to try to get more people to think that watching VR is cool, which in my opinion it is. It's way cooler than watching like CS:GO, but that's I'm biased as hell. So.
I mean, and I think that's just something that's going to take like a few more years just to like, you know, really get, you know, accumulated and whatnot. It's just like getting people into like the VR esports side of things. Cause like I was talking with a couple other people, and one person told me that like Hyper Dash like kind of has that spectating like really nailed down. And so I want to check that out and see what it has. And then, you know, even stuff like, you know, Veil's working on like a spectating tool. Onward has like decent spectating from what I've played of it, my like 2 hours.
Decent, yeah.
So I mean, hopefully that can, you know, actually happen. But I think just other things of update 28, no more accidental Kevlar buys, thank God.
Well, not necessarily. Right, like if you have full Kevlar and then you start the new round, you'll still accidental buy one time, but at least you can't buy it twice.
I was proud of this one. I pointed out that you can actually have negative cash just from like having a shit ton of attachments, and they were like, "Wait, that's a thing?" And I'm like, "Yes."
So they fixed it. Like if you buy a suppressor on the 50 cal, you're no longer getting negative $100 per kill.
No. So what it is if you're at $0, you won't go below $0, because that could happen. Like
so Mountain Dew is still deleting our money, is what you're saying every time you buy a suppressor. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But at least, you know, he won't be below $0. He won't owe money to the Pavlov devs. So
got it.
Yeah. So and then they added Infection, which is like a community server only thing. It's like the hidden, but like if you remember like Halo Infection, where it's just like eventually gets to one person versus everybody, and you know,
I actually haven't played that yet.
I don't think there's a lot of servers that run it. It probably is a mode that still needs a lot more work, but it's there. And then they forgot to put it in the patch notes, but there is prop hunt now.
Oh, officially? Okay.
Officially, yeah. So
interesting.
You can run prop hunt on community servers as well, and there are servers that run it. But yes, prop hunt is now like official, I'm pretty sure, and they just forgot to put that in the notes, because somebody posted about them playing prop hunt. I'm like, wait, this is in main? And they're like, yeah, it's in main. I'm like, huh, how about that? So yeah.
Crumb brought up crossplay. What do you think about crossplay between Shaq and PC? Would that be a good thing or a bad thing?
So from my understanding, that could potentially happen after the engine upgrade for both. And so what Dave has said is that could happen on like Shakified maps, quote unquote, which are just maps that are compatible with the, you know, the maximum map size for Shaq maps. And so that could be a thing, right? You know, like there's a lot of Shaq maps that have been made, and so it wouldn't be downgrading the game like Onward did. I think that's a lot of people's fears, and I almost know for a fact that none of the Pavlov devs would want that to
Why
happen.
would they be putting all this time into polishing the game if they wanted to downgrade it later?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So, um, it could be a possibility, and especially with either Shaq or the house version coming to PSVR 2, whichever happens, that's just even more players to throw in. And if you have, you know, a few thousand people playing your game every day as opposed to maybe just like 1,000 or maybe like several hundred, that could open the door to something like official ranked matchmaking on, you know, maps or whatever, or things like that. And, you know, that could be something that could happen, or even just like the fact that crossplay is a thing would just help to grow the community even more. Because, you know, just from personal experience, I get, whenever I do like an update video or whatever, I get so many people asking me like, how'd you get scopes, or is this coming to
Exactly.
Shaq? And it's like, Shaq clearly has like the larger player base, right? Like
It does.
Quest 2
Yeah.
is just so much more accessible. But, you know, that's part of why I've wanted to get, you know, a Quest 2, is so that I can potentially make Shaq content and Shaq tutorials. I mean, they both kind of cross over, and, you know, my
It's
like
similar.
my
Yeah.
beginner tutorial I did perfectly works for Shaq just like it does for House. But um I mean, yeah, the maps themselves would be downgraded in a way because they have to meet the Shack's maximum map size capabilities. But I mean, who knows what the engine upgrade will do for that, right? Because I mean, maybe they
Yeah, I
could,
honestly have no idea what the engine upgrade is going to do, like what
right?
we're missing out on right
Hmm.
now.
And so I think maybe just like, you know, having like a dev say or like mention what it'll do. I mean, I think for Shaq it'll add smokes. They'll finally get their scopes. You know, God bless. And
Boy.
then just like I think just like general performance stuff and maybe like expanded workshop capabilities would just be um that could happen as well. So yeah, people are making good points. Like it would just look like Shaq just on a PC. You have to lock it to like 120 hertz. Yeah, I mean it's
Why would
it,
you have to lock the hertz? I don't get
I'm
that.
not sure. I mean, I think it's a, you know, with certain games have just like nailed like the whole crossplay thing, but like, you know, visually they might not be like, you know, the best, or like, you know, they have like just really simple visuals. Like Pop 1 is like a perfect example of just a game that has nailed crossplay for Quest and for PC.
Yeah.
And its visuals are pretty solid, but it's not like, you know, they didn't have to
It
like,
obviously looks like a Shaq game, you know?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, yeah, it's cartoonish, and but you know,
yeah.
that's a video game. It can be like that. It doesn't. It's not a bad thing either. But you know, it's just something that's gonna kind of continue because I think just the general direction of I think the general direction of VR is headed towards the mobile VR market. But speaking I mean, we were going to talk a little bit about Shack League and stuff, so I will actually swap the topic there. And you can talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, there is in fact another league. It's not just VRML. There's a Shaq League, and so the Shaq League has way less teams. It's like new, right? I think it's so that there were two Shaq Leagues. There was like Pavlov Shaq League, and now it's all rolled into this new like Pavlov Champions League. Rect went over just to like see what it's about because a bunch of us had Quest 2s, and we just wanted to see like how far can we get without like practicing at all. Like, could we just win champs on Shaq? The answer is no. We could not. We got close, but we lost in the very end.
Yeah.
But like, it's growing. It's a growing scene, and the Shaq teams are pretty good. Like, I think if we had crossplay, it would be really interesting. Maybe we could combine our leagues somehow, but
Hmm.
I doubt that would happen, to be honest, if there's like a map limitation, because I don't think PC players would want to play Shaq maps, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Like the Shaq maps right now, they feel a bit more. It's just newer. It's a more immature league. Like, like this, the last match Rect played, we played on Dust 2 on Shack, and it has the old problem where you can spam the doors. So
Mm.
both maps went like 8-0 or 9-0 on T side because both teams were, abusing the shit out of that, just
Yeah.
abusing the T side of the map, right? But that got fixed. Like, it's getting better and better. I don't know. The Shack League it's cool. It's good vibes. The people there are cool.
Hmm.
But personally, I just enjoy PCVR so much better, not because of the league itself, but because of the experience and the fidelity of PCVR. Like, I
Yeah.
go from 144 hertz on PC to 70 hertz on Shaq,
Oh my
and it
god.
actually changes the way recoil feels
Mm-hmm.
because recoil is tied to your frame rate. So when I go to Shaq, I can't laser people anymore, right? I can't do all these things, so it just feels bad to me, right? Or I can't hear people because the audio doesn't have any ambisonics, it doesn't have HRTF. It's just like it's like 2D kind of audio that's really low fidelity, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All these things, like you just kind of sacrifice everything a little bit on Shaq over PCVR, unfortunately.
Right.
And I would love to see that be better. Maybe the engine upgrade will make Shaq perform a little better so we can
Right.
add some of that stuff and make it feel better. But as of right now, maybe Quest 3, it'll be closer to PCVR, but right now it just feels, unfortunately, just so much lower fidelity. It's like
Right. And I mean, and
Pavlov 0.5, you know?
yeah, and it's like you can only do so much because it's, you know, mobile processors and stuff. But like even just
Exactly.
like the ability to just say, okay, all I have to do is drop 300, 400 bucks if you're accounting for like extras and stuff, and be able to play VR games, have a huge library of VR games, potentially crossplay with PC VR players, and then also just, you know, being
Yeah.
like not having to have a PC, like that is just huge. And you know, it's hard because I mean, like, there's only one really good like mobile VR maker, but you know that could change within the next few years. Like more people could be getting into mobile VR, and we could see.
Steam apparently is working on one. They have like patents for a mobile VR headset, right? So they're trying to break into that space as they should. They need to, right? We
Yeah.
need more competitors in that space, and I think it's a good thing. You know, I'm still gonna be a PC VR guy, but most people will not be. And
Yeah.
just having crossplay, like you said, would be excellent. It would just increase the player base of both sides, let people play together, and we could still have our separate leagues because of the competitive differences between
Right.
the headsets.
And like it would be crazy how much it would increase, because I mean I think I remember seeing like, you know, PC VR, you can look at the Steam database charts and it's like maybe 1,000 a day. On an update month or whatever, you might see like a couple thousand or like, you know, 1,500 or something. Whereas Shaq, it's just like, oh hey, look, there's 7,000 people playing Shaq right now, and that number is only just gonna freaking skyrocket within the next couple years.
5,000 of them are 12-year-olds who just got their headset for Christmas.
Oh yeah, speaking of, yeah, we're gonna have
Oh, the
Christmas.
noob harvest is coming.
Yep, the Christmas Noob Harvest is coming. How many people is Handy Clapper gonna have to teach how to defuse and arm the bomb? I think it was like 300 or 400 something last year. So, but you won't hear their footsteps. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people just roll a d20. But speaking of just like players and stuff, and I think we mentioned it briefly a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna switch it. We're gonna talk about the matchmaking server. Maybe if I can fit it on screen. There we go. Matchmaking server. So, for those of you that don't know what this is, the matchmaking server was made by the one and only Matt H of Funny Crown, aka Royalty, and it's basically just like a Discord bot. And what it does is it sets up pickup games for you, and there's like a voting process of like banning maps and stuff, and it assigns teams, and you have ranked elo and stuff. And so I think it's really just something that like the community needed, so that we could just, you know, play pickup games and whatnot, and you know, play the most popular maps, and just have a way to play on like a day-to-day basis if you weren't playing with your team. And I mean, we haven't quite promoted it yet to the masses, and you know, it could even be something that could make its way over to Shaq. We'll see. Right now it's only for PC VR, so I'm sorry for the Shaq people that are watching, but I just, you know, we've played over 1,000 matches in the past couple months or whatever on it, even just for the little community that we have. And you know, not everything is perfect, and you know, there's always going to be, you know, the growing pains and whatnot, but
It's definitely been the healthiest thing for like off-season competitive play, but also just like people who want to get in and learn to be good at Pavlov S&D can just come queue up, and even if you're really bad, everyone on your team is going to teach you because they don't want to lose, right?
Yeah. And so, oh my god, everybody's just copy pasting right now. We'll figure it out, all right? Because apparently some Royalty players like didn't have their actual in-game names, so
Yeah, the leader of the league broke one of the rules in the first game they
damn
played.
it, Matt. You see what you do. But you know, for real, like just like that matchmaking bot and everything, like it's been a source of just like a lot of really awesome games. And you've seen so many players, like especially like players that may only have like a couple hundred hours, just kind of like rise up a little bit in skill because they've been playing it. And so it's
the people playing matchmaking are getting better, and it's obvious to everyone who's paying attention for sure.
yeah. And I just saw too, like, because I kind of just lurk the Shack Discord every now and then until, you know, I decide to get a quest to that they have like their own pickup game system, and it's definitely one of the best things that they've implemented is what they've said. So yeah, I mean, the rise of Solstice, yeah, all you Solstice players have been just like popping off in there.
Exactly.
But even just like, you know, it's cool to see players just like continually improve, and like you kind of work on your own individual game sense, your own individual skills. You start learning how other players play, and like I mean, that's kind of what you need to do. And like I was having a very long conversation with Tarmac the other night of just like you know, esports and everything, because we both have a decent amount of esports experience, him more so than I. And he was talking about like, you know, just like how playing on a team is so beneficial because you actually grow together and you start to, you know, meet other people and you start to understand how other people play, and it helps you improve. And just it's
yes.
And then also segregating league players from pubs probably helps new players a lot.
Actually, yeah, it does. I'm sure.
Kind of, I mean, yeah, I mean, most people are pretty nice and want to help people get into it, but you know, sometimes you just want to go 30-0 in a lobby. And
yeah, you guys ever wonder why people play so much TTT and push and stuff? It's because you guys scared them all off. It's your fault. And by you, I mean also me. I'm sorry.
I mean, I kind of did that today. I was just getting some 50 cal gameplay, but I wanted some S&D gameplay, so it makes sense. And I kind of hit some shots, and one of the admins of the server's like, yo, you gotta chill out, man. I'm like, sorry. I play TTT and scare the noobs to S&D. Now that's the Chad move, first of all. I haven't played TTT probably since I've had like 100 hours on the. I've dabbled in.
It's been a while for me too.
Yeah, just might hop in there one time and just like, you know, mess around. I don't know.
We really need to organize some like league player like TTT or league player hidden or something like that.
Yeah.
We did some league player hidden with like Rect and Jabberwocky, and it was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, I did the same actually, kind of with Dream Team. Just randomly they were playing the hidden and I just hopped in and it was fun. It's just like, I think it'd be cool to just have like a casual game mode just to like kick back on and just relax and actually like enjoy each other instead of, you know, always being so competitive.
Yeah, trying to flex so much on each other.
Because I think that, you know, that's kind of where maybe some of the drama and stuff comes from. It's just like everybody's always so competitive and we don't have time to just like chill out and enjoy stuff. So
it does. Yeah, we're all just people.
TTT for side
the game. TTT side pick. Yeah, whoever wins gets to pick side. That's home.
Day after Christmas, I'm joining every TTT lobby I find and scaring them all into S&D. Oh my god. You're ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, just enjoying the more casual modes and like getting people in S&D. I think, you know, that's kind of one of my goals for 2022, and just like, you know, making more tutorials. I think
yeah, I need to make some too.
Neville brings up a good point. MM is great for teaching skills, but what VRML needs is VRML school to teach people how to start teams or make themselves actually appealing to get recruited into existing teams. And this was an idea that I kind of had. It's just like, you know, I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of joining Vortex, which is freaking crazy to think about. I joined at the beginning of January this time last year. So what's it called? I think just have like, I did like a beginner tutorial or something, like just how to play the game, and that's like actually popped off and people have like recognized me from that. And it's like crazy to think about, but like just like actually trying to help people get into the game and like actually helping them enjoy it. Now, not everybody is receptive to that, right? Like
that's always the content that does the best, though, is things that are helpful to people. Not the kill montages, unfortunately for me.
Or you just getting blind fire one tap by some random dude who rolls a d20.
That's definitely my favorite video.
Oh my god. but yeah, freaking just I think maybe that's kind of what we need, because I mean, admittedly, maybe the league has gotten a little bit smaller because of certain events, which we won't get into too much, but I think we need to just have like a general push to kind of grow things a little bit more, and just like get more people invested into, you know, S&D, and just like, you know, playing the game at a higher level, because admittedly that brings in more attention, and then, you know, maybe we can actually do something cool with Pavlov. Like, we have done a lot of cool things, but like even, you know, crazier things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably 100 players in Pav right now who would join a VR team if they knew the path to do so, right? There's a lot of players who are really good, who want to test themselves and who want to play competitively, who just aren't, because it's hard to get started, you know, and it's hard to even have visibility on the fact that the league exists.
Right, and I think I'm gonna switch the topic to this, because I think this is a very important thing. So we're gonna switch this to we'll just call it recruitment. People figure it out. So yeah, just like I know that like this time last year, you know, we had like, you know, the Open Arctic stuff, and like they had like recruitment stuff, and you know, there was a lot of like sister teams and whatnot going on, and you know, that's cool and all, but even just like I think a lot of like there have been some like bronze teams that have actually been like, you know, popping off and whatnot, of just like let's switch this back to that, just kind of like popping off in terms of like what's going on, and you know, they've been growing together so much, and they have been, you know, improving as a team. And I think part of it is just like the dedication aspect of it. You know, you're gonna lose your first couple games probably, unless you luck out or whatever, because you have to learn all the maps, you have to learn how to work as a team, who does what.
To get a lucky matchup
Yeah.
with a team that hasn't been playing for 2 seasons.
Right, and then also at the same time, you have to have somebody that's got like really good leadership on your team, somebody who can effectively IGL, and that's the hardest part. I think is a lot of teams will fall apart because it's just like, you know, but and like, you know, obviously you have fun, but some teams it's just like you don't have that leadership, that like kind of backbone to build off of, and from that, I think it's just really hard to continue growing.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like having a good leader, someone who's kind of pulling everyone together, organizing practices, keeping people motivated to get better is probably the most important thing to actually keeping a team together.
Yeah. And so what's it called? I mean, like even us, like we've scrimmed, like, and hopefully not scared away, but like we've done like mixed scrims with some of the bronze teams, like one of them like Homeland Esports or whatever. And we did like they wanted to do just one where it was just them versus us, and you know that ended in a 10-0, and they, you know, they expected that, and they took it pretty lightly. And then we like kind of mixed up the teams a little bit, and we were showing them, you're like, okay, you know, let's double peak this, or let's get some util here, or let's try this strategy, and kind of all pushed out. And it gives them the experience of playing with players that are, you know, higher skilled or whatnot, and you know, they start to learn things, and then they can take things back from that and adapt it into their own strategies, and you know, see if things work. I mean, sometimes it's really just you need to play the game more, and you need to just, you know, do more death matching and understand how the guns work. But once you like, if you understand what's going on, and you understand like the eco, because like Search and Destroy has a bunch of layers of like, first there's just aim duels, right, and just, you know, just winning your aim duels, and then there's the economy, there's rotations, positioning, and you know, there's all these different layers, and trying to take that on all at once is really overwhelming, especially for a new player. But
exactly,
if you know, even if you understand, you know, like economy, and you know, if you try to think about positioning, or you know, you just focus on like, all right, I'm gonna work on aim and stuff, and just win my aim duels, right, that'll help you break it down so much. And I think that'll, you know, help you grow into, you know, maybe a silver, gold, master, whatever team over the course of a couple seasons. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much the difference between the lower tier and the higher tier teams, is like the lower tier teams are really good at some of those things. There's lots of silver players who are just as good at master players at shooting, but they're just lacking in some of those other departments, like maybe communication or teamwork, or just like what to do, like game sense in a particular moment, that can be worked on individually,
or even just like, you know, map knowledge, things of that nature. And so I mean, I really do think, you know, moving forward, excuse me, it's kind of like up to some of the higher level teams to try to, you know, foster this in a way. And I know like some people like, you know, Boris on Dream Team or whatever, or Pickle have started so many teams, even just getting more teams, and then they have grown. But even just like continuing that of like either building new teams or just, you know, helping some of these teams, like, you know, offering them to like do a mixed scrim or whatnot, or, you know, like offering to cast a game for them, and like, or just like reviewing strats with them. I think it's really important just to like help foster that growth. And so I do like the idea of you know, like a quote unquote VRML school, or like understanding search and destroy, like how to rotate, how to understand the economy, which I've already talked about personally. But
there was like a there was a Pavlov bootcamp Discord that was sort of like made for this purpose. I don't know if it was more directed at just random players, not towards like team captains trying to build teams, I guess. But I didn't really participate that much, but I feel like that kind of died out. So like a more directed approach might need to come through like me and you, or content creators and people like making actual series of videos aimed at like team captains, or
Right.
people trying to get into VRML, or just teams of people trying to build their teamwork and become better and ultimately join VRML.
And like I'm probably gonna get memed for this, but like the amount of people that have like, you know, watched your aim guide and like they recognize you for your aim guide and like how it was so well done, and like understanding that, like, or like even like your movement guide and stuff like that, some of like the higher level stuff, like it was funny, you had hearted a comment or like pinned a comment of mine that I put when I had like 150 hours in the game, and it's just like, here I am now, like it's crazy.
Exactly.
But you know, it's like you know, it's, I think just like through content creation, we have some good content creators, like, or people that are willing to make content like in the league, and you know, there's people that, you know, want to get started or get their foot in the door with that. And I think, you know, we can provide sort of that opportunity for them, and even just like people getting into league and trying to understand like how Pavlov works or whatnot. And so I think just kind of like, you know, fostering that and fostering like the cross connection between teams, and just like, you know, and it also goes back to like, you know, the casual games, like, you know, just like having a couple friendly casual games, or like a couple open game nights or whatever, and we just like play fun shit or whatever, and just like,
Yeah, we used to have like Arctic Open Pav nights. Those aren't around anymore. I know there's like the Friday night fight nights or something.
Dude,
that
those are fun.
yeah, I never go to those, but those are definitely really cool. Maybe just more stuff like that could be good as well.
Yeah, but even just like events to like foster like connections between different players that, you know, you normally might not talk to. Like I think that's just, you know, that's something that I think we can really improve on, like as a league in general, just going into 2022, or even just like as a competitive community, right? And so I think just moving forward is really just trying to foster that, and you know,
how do we grow together?
Yeah, exactly. And just like, you know, pumping out tutorials, trying to get people interested, and just, you know, going from there. But oh yeah, the DTF, the Dream Team friendlies. I used to do those back in like March, and they were a lot of fun. But I mean, overall, I mean, we definitely covered a lot, and there was a lot of updates that have happened in the past 3 months. Or so and then like we said, moving forward, there's the engine upgrade. So there's a lot to look forward to with Pavlov in general going into next year. But I got something stuck in my eye. Jeez.
Damn.
I know, that's the worst. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Anyways,
we know you're crying. It's okay.
I know. Only on the inside. I feel bad because like I couldn't even. we were trying to figure out like stream stuff, and I was just like, oh, I should just switch my codec or whatever. I was like 10 minutes late, so this is now, instead of the revival, this is just gonna be the late episode. The episode that came 6 months late, and then the second episode is just a lost episode. But I mean,
a lost episode. We'll upload it like 4 years from now.
All right. But I mean, just kind of moving on from like Pavlov and whatnot. We're gonna swap to other VR games, and I'm gonna do a little of that so it actually fits in. It looks decent. So have you been playing any other VR games recently, or?
I haven't, but I can recommend one for Pavlov players, and that is Contractors because of their most recent update. They added a bunch of new stuff. They added like new modes, and then they also added. They basically ripped Pavlov's VStock and put it in Contractors, but added their own like customization options to it. And I beta tested it a little bit, and it feels really good. It feels like Pavlov's VStock. So if you were ever in Onward and you weren't not Onward. Did I say Onward?
Yeah, you did.
Contractors. If you're ever in Contractors and you didn't really enjoy it because it didn't have a V-Stock, now would be a good time to try it out and see how it feels to you.
And I was fortunate enough to actually get a free game key for Contractors, and I mean, I can attest to the fact that its V-Stock now feels like Pavlov's. Personally, I mean, for me, like Contractors, I haven't been able to get into it too much just because like silencers are meta, and for me it's just like you can't tell where you're getting shot from because there's like a million different head peaks, and like I'm not used to the map design. But like again,
jumping over boxes and head peeking you with their jump.
Oh my god,
that's always fun.
So like for me, I don't like giving opinions of other games that I haven't put that many hours into, because like I just feel like, oh, I'm biased towards Pavlov, right? And I want to give like a fair assessment of other games. There's a lot of things in Contractors that I think are really cool, especially like the movement is pretty nice. Like being able to change your gun angle to fit it to you is really nice.
Oh, good.
It leads to a lot of customization up front, which can be a little daunting, but overall I think in the end it
yeah, I think ultimately like every game is gonna have to go kind of the Contractors route. Like once we get like more AAA shooters and stuff, like the ability to customize the way the gun points based on how you want to hold your controllers is just so integral to having a seamless experience between different VR games and keeping people from just siloing into their one game. Like if I can go from Pavlov to Contractors and have the aim feel the same and not screw up all my muscle memory for just straight up aiming, I'm gonna do that. And obviously there's techniques that allow you to do that, like the T-Rex technique and stuff, but there's reasons why people wouldn't want to use those.
Right. And I mean, I've played a little bit of Veil here and there. There was a couple tourneys that happened, and
yeah, you guys won. Let's go, Pavlov, #1, Pavlov players.
It was crazy because I'll open up the page so that it actually looks like we're talking about the same thing and not Contractors. So Veil VR is a game that's in pre-alpha. Devs are pretty cool. They have some interesting directions with their game. You know, they've been going into the whole NFT thing, which, you know, that's, you know, your opinion of that. I don't get into that too much. I care more that you provide a polished game at the end of the day. Exactly. So hopefully, you know, they've taken on their pretty huge team behind it, and hopefully their game, you know, they accelerate a little bit with their process. I mean, and the devs have always been really open to feedback, which is, you know, always pretty cool. But they've had 2 pre-alpha tournaments, one that happened at the beginning of September and then one that happened I think in the beginning or middle of October. And so the first tournament we had some technical difficulties, so us and Global,
like everybody crashed out.
Everybody just kept crashing, and so we just wound up splitting the prize money. And then because we had made it to the finals, and then the second tourney we wound up winning against Psychosis, which was like a mix of like a bunch of different Pavlov players. And so it was funny because we kind of beat out all the Onward teams and we're just like Pavlov #1. And it was some good matches. It was like a lot of like 11-8s, 11-9s. Yeah. So I mean, it's a game that's more tailored to Pavlov players, I think, just because of the engagement ranges and just because of how it works, which makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. Like a lot of Onward upper level isn't about your individual skill as much as it is about your team's map knowledge and how you play the maps, right? So going from Onward to Veil and going from Pavlov to Veil, I feel like the degree of technical skill you require in Pavlov to succeed is going to give you a bit of an advantage. Right. That's just my opinion.
And I think it's interesting too because you see a lot of players come over to Pavlov, and they have a really hard time with the recoil control. I think
exactly
because Pavlov, I think, just generally has the most difficult recoil to control compared to other VR games. Contractors feels a little bit kind of random,
Yeah, it's like you pull down and then you have randomness, which I'm not a huge fan of personally, but it just puts more emphasis on the first shot, headshot, right? They have hit scan weapons, so it's easier to pull off than in Pavlov. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely the biggest problem people have coming to Pavlov is now they have to learn a recoil pattern, whereas before they learned put on a vertical grip and pull down and hold the trigger down, and everyone will die no matter how far away they
Yeah.
are.
And
It's
then
just a completely different way
onward
to
is
play.
just like not a lot of recoil because it's
Exactly.
one shot kills half the time anyways, 1 to 2 hits.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
um so yeah, I mean like that's the thing, that's the other thing about Pavlov that, kind of gets players a little frazzled at the beginning is like the actual recoil control and understanding that it's a pattern, and at least there's doesn't seem to be any randomness to it. I could be wrong.
There is randomness. Every shot has the first shot I think is usually accurate, though I think with certain guns it's a little bit less accurate. But as you increase your recoil, you actually do get a little bit of an increasing bloom per shot, and it's very minor. But for some guns, it seems worse. Like with the AK-47, it seems like it has worse bloom. But if you just like if you mount your controllers and you hold the trigger down and you watch the pattern, it will be slightly different each time.
Yeah.
But you can account for it, and skill does prevail, obviously.
Yeah. And so you'll see some players are just able to control that pattern, or you see some players like myself who love bursting. Oh my god. 5 round M4 burst is so I love it.
Yeah, one burst, one kill. That's all you need.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, I think just the actual amount of vertical and horizontal recoil in Pavlov is just greater than other games, and so it's just something that takes a little bit to get used to. And so you'll see some people gravitate towards like SMGs right off the bat, but then also SMGs suck against armor. So
Yeah, I see people like the P90 who come from Onward because the P90 has no vertical and they just kind of hold the trigger down and they actually do decently with it.
yeah, I mean, justice for the P90, right? Like, I just love to see just P90 action all over the place.
Which has it gets progressively buffed every update just a little bit. Like it's actually kind of viable right now, but everybody's just so turned off to it that nobody buys it.
Yeah, and it's like it's a gun that doesn't have V stock, so for any V stock person, they're just like, I'm not used to this. This feels weird. But I think it's just like, and it's interesting just seeing like what teams come from like other games and stuff that try to get into Pavlov, and admittedly like Pavlov is just like kind of increasing itself as like the best VR shooter on the market right now.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
but
In terms of population, it is right. Like
yeah,
we may have a smaller league, but we have the bigger population, and the game itself objectively is much more polished than Onward. I'm sorry, it just is. I've played both plenty, and I know.
I've played Onward for 2 hours, and we decided to make an Onward team for shits and giggles. But there's no match generation this week, so that's gonna have to wait till after Christmas. You'll see it in a video probably, and we'll probably lose, or we'll just be Chads and win. So if we win, then we'll stick with it. But we'll see. But I see half the people in my chat are using it as a matchmaking bot for bot commands right now. They're just doing like the ready and stuff. I'm just like, dude. But I mean, overall, I mean, Pavlov's been headed in a really solid direction. They've done so much work on it this year, and I mean, it's been really great to just kind of see. So, you have any other words or things you want to talk about at all, or?
No, it's good for me.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, this has been another episode of Chillin' with Yellow, and I mean, thank you obviously for coming on. You can see my man Chostup's links are down below that way somewhere, and this will probably get uploaded to YouTube sometime, hopefully before the end of the year, so you can watch it back if you didn't watch it on Twitch today. And thank you for all the support between Frosty and Lurf, giving the gifted subs and the biddies, and thank you Inoji Lethals, and Enjoy Lethals. I cannot read. Thank you for the Prime sub, and thank you all for hanging out and listening to two Pavlov players talk about Pavlov like just every day. So appreciate the support, and I mean, I appreciate all the support I've gotten on YouTube this past year. It's been amazing, and it's thanks to all you people that continue to watch my stuff, and I'm looking forward to 2022 and just hitting that content creator grind a little bit harder. So thank you all for sticking around and hanging out. And I and Chill Step will hopefully see you in the next episode. Take it easy.
See ya.